Hey folks, it's Marvin Cash, the host of the Articulate Fly, and we're back with another Southwest Virginia fishing report with Matt Reilly. How you doing, Matt?
Doing great, Marvin. How are you?
As always, just trying to stay out of trouble. And we were talking before we started recording, you're kind of in that early summer. It's kind of sort of starting to get hot, and you've got probably rain, probably 5 out of the next 10 days. What are you seeing on the water?
Everything. Well, so the big news here is that we, had rain all weekend. And a lot of it, I guess, went straight into the ground because our water levels didn't do a whole lot. Some of the trout streams got, a little bit of a shot. New River bumped a little bit, but not a ton. We're still in the midst of, spawning activity. So we've got males guarding nests and post-spawn females and, day to day, just, trying to fish areas adjacent to that spawning habitat and avoid beating up on nesting fish that's been the day to day.
Yeah. So are you mostly fishing streamers? Are you doing topwater? Or how are you attacking it?
Yeah. Topwater is definitely an option. Has been for a couple of weeks now. A lot of times that comes into play where, we've had pretty low water levels for the season. Been relatively clear, at least before all the rain. And, topwater is definitely viable, especially if you're fishing relatively slow and you have some sort of uninspired, big post-spawn females that aren't willing to chase down a streamer and eat them. So that's been an option, but we're definitely still catching a lot of fish on crayfish and bait fish imitation as well.
Got it. And, you were mentioning, I imagine probably your spring hatches for your trout are kind of starting to wind down, right?
Yeah. We have a lot of insects out and about. There's still caddisflies. We've got some green drakes kicking around. And it's just getting to be kind of, general warm bug season, where we've got, lots of terrestrial insects. And there have been, plenty of mayfly hatches. So, the fish are just generally willing to look up, most days. And, otherwise we're nymph fishing with, the usual suspects.
Yeah. And on the dry front, I imagine it's big and bushy and yellow and orange, right?
Those are always good options. Yeah. Beetles, ants and stuff, those are coming into play already too. That'll get it done day to day right now.
Yeah. And, kind of any public service announcements you want to give folks in terms of, fishing to nesting smallmouth?
Yeah. So, my general approach to that is, when you're floating down the river any given day, in the springtime, you'll notice that, I hear it all the time. People say, "Oh man, look at that. That's a beautiful log. That's great looking habitat. Where are all the fish?" And, the reality is in the springtime, there's a lot of great looking summer habitat that just doesn't have many fish in it because it doesn't offer much for a spawning fish. And even though, we have a lot of post-spawn fish at the moment, particularly females, they're still near those areas. So, there's going to be big stretches of river that don't have a ton of fish, and there's going to be, really densely populated areas. And you'll be able to tell, for the most part, the difference. If you can see the bottom of the river, if you can see the fish, for the most part, if you have a fish in current, or if they're cruising out in the middle of the river, it's probably a post-spawn fish. If you have a fish that's not straying very far from a particular, current protected area close to the bank, and you throw a fly over there and they come out and they bump it with their mouth but don't eat it, and then you throw it back in there again and they come over to check it out. Probably a male that's guarding the nest. And my general philosophy is, I will float through those areas and fish. And if you do happen to hook a fish that you see come off of the nest, fight it quickly, put it back. Don't float through too rapids while you're doing it. But don't hang around and hammer those areas. Just kind of, if you see that behavior and you recognize it, and you don't get that fish when he comes up to inspect the fly, just, I tend to just move on. So that's my general philosophy. A lot of the studies have shown that fishing pressure is not even close to the biggest factor that influences spawning success and recruitment levels. But just kind of compromising and not moving into a spawning area and just hammering every nest that's in there is kind of just generally a good idea, I tend to think.
Yeah, and I would say too, one of the biggest factors is it seems to be in the last, 5 to 8 years, we generally have these scouring rain events, right? So hopefully this looks like we're going to have a year with hopefully some good recruitment, because knock on wood, we're not expecting Noah's Ark to have to float down the New River anytime soon.
Yeah, and I mean that is where we got lucky this last weekend. We had a fair amount of rain across the region, but thankfully it didn't jack the stream flows up too much. I certainly don't think, and I mean, just in the last few days, I've seen nests that are still active, and doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of damage done. And we do have some rain in the forecast, but it's small enough, volumes every day that it'll be. I think it's going to be manageable and healthy, and we're not going to see any. Again, knock on wood, any crazy blowouts or floods.
Yeah, there you go. And, folks, we love questions on the articulate fly. You can email them to us. You can DM us on social media. You can even drop them in the comments to our social media posts, whatever's easiest for you. And if we use your question, I will send you some articulate fly swag, and then we're enter a drawing for something cool for Matt at the end of the season. And I know, Matt, we've talked before, the front end of your smallmouth season is pretty booked up, but you want to let folks know kind of what the back half looks like?
Sure. Yeah, actually, this happens every year, but the back half starts to fill inward, in the summer, late fall, just because, August and September are such favorite months for a lot of people. But I still probably have a week or so in the month of July, very few days in August, and probably a week and a half in September. Available. So, again, all kind of prime summer topwater fishing time frame. So if that's anybody's jam, which I know it is, feel free to reach out however you'd like, and I look forward to talking to you.
Yeah, and of course, if you're a really eager beaver, you'll start talking about muskie season and get your muskie dates in. Yeah,
well, we still got a lot of good smallmouth stuff to look forward to, so I'm willing to push that off for a little bit.
Well, there you go. Well, listen, folks, you owe it to yourself to get out there and catch a few. Tight lines, everybody. Tight lines, Matt.
Thanks, Marvin.